Indian security agencies are monitoring the C-130 Hercules aircraft that India today told you about with the call sign Ajax 1431 since 10 kilometers from the Indian border with Bangladesh, and it is heading towards Delhi, is expected to touch down around 5 to 5:15 p.m. at a runway in Delhi. This is a Bangladesh Air Force plane. We have a picture of that plane that I'm going to put on your screen right now. We have a picture of that plane, and I'm going to ask our producers to put a picture of that plane on our screen right now to show our viewers what we're talking about. The Bangladesh Air Force aircraft has crossed Patna and reached near the UP-Bihar border. Top security brass are monitoring the situation very closely. The Indian Air Force is also on high alert and is keeping a very close eye on the aircraft in which Sheikh Hasina has fled from Bangladesh and is likely to land in Delhi at about 5 p.m. according to our sources in the security system. That's the aircraft, or the type of aircraft in which the Bangladesh Prime Minister currently is. 5 p.m. touchdown in Delhi is expected, and then the Prime Minister of Bangladesh will likely make her way to London, is what we are hearing. That's the latest that we're getting to you right now. It's a Bangladesh Air Force aircraft which basically confirms that the ex-Prime Minister of Bangladesh has managed to cut a deal with the military that has now virtually taken over the country and will be forming an interim government there very, very shortly. India currently is monitoring Sheikh Hasina's C-130J aircraft. That's the kind of aircraft, not the same aircraft, but the kind of aircraft that is now in Indian airspace. India Today's Geeta Mohan has been tracking the movement of that aircraft. Geeta, it looks like the Air Force, Air Traffic Control, Army, intelligence agencies are all now tuned towards this aircraft with a likely touchdown in Delhi at about 5 p.m.
That's right. It is very close to Ghazipur now. So it is all across West Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand. And now we're looking at entering the UP borders. Certainly headed towards New Delhi. And then from there, what we're given to understand is that the final destination would be London. So that's the red aircraft that you can see on the radar map. That's AJX 1431, flying at an altitude of 24,000 feet over the state of Uttar Pradesh right now. It's a Lockheed C-130J Hercules, so certainly a military aircraft that is flying former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and her sister Sheikh Rehana towards Delhi. The situation is dire in Bangladesh. Whilst the army has now taken control, the situation is nowhere near normal or nowhere near seeming like the protests and riots are going to come to an end. So we are looking at a very volatile situation over here. We will have to wait and see what the army does. Will the people go back to their homes? Will the men in uniform return to their barracks? And when will all that happen? So the situation volatile, but for now, what we're looking at is evening in Delhi, the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh landing most probably here, and then she will certainly be received and be met by senior security officials and administration officials from the government. They will take a lowdown on the situation in Bangladesh and the plan from here on for Bangladesh, particularly the Awami League administration. New Delhi has been a very important partner and a friend, and at this point in time, at this juncture, it doesn't seem like New Delhi is going to abandon a Prime Minister who's worked very hard towards India-Bangladesh relations. This is a very difficult time. It's going to be a very difficult time for the neighborhood itself, Shiv, given that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina not being in power in Bangladesh could change dynamics of security for India. We do remember days of Khaleda Zia when she was in power, and the whole of Northeast for India, as also West Bengal. All those areas had a huge security problem. And
Geeta, I just want to focus it just for a moment. We'll get to the larger aspects in just a moment. But, you know, in about 40 minutes, we're expecting the C-130J aircraft of the kind that you're seeing in the center of your screen landing in Delhi. You know, is there any clarity on what this means? Is it a refueling stopover? Is anyone going to be meeting her after she lands? You know, perhaps the National Security Advisor or anyone else? It seems unlikely that it's going to be purely a refueling stop, Geeta.
Well, if it were a refueling stop, it would have been, they could have flown further down and then stopped over for refueling. This certainly seems like a very political decision to have taken to stop over in Delhi, if that is the case. And if she stops over, yes, there is going to be refueling. But more than that, there is going to be discussion that will take place between Sheikh Hasina, Sheikh Rehana, and the security, high-level security, and government officials on the Indian side. There's a lot that the two sides have to discuss in terms of what happens next for India. Everything that happens in Bangladesh is going to impact our eastern front. So we are quite concerned. India is very concerned with the situation on the ground, and they would want to see whether if there is going to be a political way forward which could include or involve Awami League, and if not, then Bangladesh is staring at yet another round of elections, Shiv, with the interim government that would come into place by the army, placed by the army, with the interim government taking control and then ensuring a free, fair, smooth elections in the country, which is the expectation, which is what the Khaleda Zia party also wanted, BNP. They wanted what the process has always been in Bangladesh and in Pakistan as well, that once a term ends, that there should be an interim government in place for the conduct of the next elections. Sheikh Hasina did not agree to that this time around. And that had become a major flashpoint between the opposition and the administration.
Stay with me, Geeta. Harsh Shringla, former Foreign Secretary, has just spoken on this. Let's just listen into what he said.
You know, there are underlying factors behind the demonstrations. On the face of it, it has been the quota issue that the students have put forward. But there are underlying economic factors. You know, COVID-19 has hit the Bangladesh economy very hard. In addition to that, the Ukraine conflict has resulted in spiking the prices of essential commodities, from fuel to food to fertilizers, and Bangladesh imports all these items. They've had a very, very difficult balance of payments situation. Inflation has gone up, by 17 to 20%. So all of this is essentially now coming to a situation where, people, especially younger people, are expressing their frustration on the streets. The opposition BNP, or is the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is the radical, pro-Pakistan Islamist grouping that is very active on the streets. They have joined the protests, and they have actually brought in that violence into the protests. You cannot rule out the involvement of foreign powers who are inimical to Bangladesh's interests and, frankly, to our security interests also. Definitely, you cannot rule out the fact that certain interests have been fishing in troubled waters. But I think that the situation itself was possibly a result of several underlying factors inherent within the Bangladesh system.
In about 35 minutes from now, an aircraft carrying Sheikh Hasina and her sister Sheikh Rehana is expected to land in Delhi. Remember that Sheikh Hasina has been, labeled and targeted and called an India agent by her political rivals and political enemies in Bangladesh. So the fact that she's chosen to land in Delhi, which is friendly territory for the beleaguered former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, is not surprising, but it is fraught with political risk over what her next step is going to be. But given that Sheikh Hasina has literally escaped from Bangladesh to save her life, to save her physical safety, because this is what's going on at the Prime Minister's protected residence in Dhaka. It is not surprising whatsoever that Sheikh Hasina has basically decided she needs to at least get to a safe space quickly before she decides on her next step. While she's in Delhi, it is likely that she will meet with Indian officials. We don't know that yet, because we do know that the Indian diplomatic machinery is currently meeting, taking stock of the situation, keeping an eye, two eyes rather, on that aircraft which is going to land in Delhi, but it will be more than a fueling stop. Meanwhile, as that aircraft begins its descent into Delhi, here's what's happening at Sheikh Hasina's prime ministerial residence. Complete vandalism, a total takeover of the Prime Minister's property in Dhaka. This is public property, of course. It's been taken over by thousands of students and protesters. They've looted the kitchen. You can see people making videos and reels of them taking food out of the, out of the VIP kitchens inside the Prime Minister's residence, making videos. Internet has been restored, and therefore there is a huge backlash now against Sheikh Hasina, who ironically is now in Indian airspace and about to land in the Indian capital. Multiple videos doing the rounds, all of them on your screen right now, of the total civil unrest and takeover of Sheikh Hasina's residence in Bangladesh. She'll probably get a chance to see all of these only once she lands, but the very fact that Sheikh Hasina had to cut a deal with the Bangladeshi military and get out of Bangladesh means that her physical safety could not be guaranteed by the Bangladesh army, and that's why it is very likely that they advised her. They gave her a helicopter, they gave her an aircraft and said, resign, get out of here, we cannot guarantee your safety. And that's the reason why Sheikh Hasina is going to be landing in Delhi very shortly, while this happens to the VIP Prime Ministerial residence in Dhaka. Just take a look at all of these pictures, viewer. These are all, students, youth leaders of opposition parties, public demonstrators, most definitely members of the opposition parties who have been energized by how this entire quota-linked protest has expanded into a larger uprising against the Sheikh Hasina government, with elements of economic distress, job distress, and many other factors playing up and fanning the flames of a student protest that has become virtually an insurrection, which has succeeded in hounding out a democratically elected Prime Minister of Bangladesh. One dramatic video after another coming in from Dhaka. These are the Prime Ministerial residence grounds, people lying on the Prime Ministerial bed, taking over the furniture, looting the kitchen, taking out property, removing furniture. That is what is happening in the 7 Lok Kalyan Marg of Dhaka. Imagine something like this happening in India. That's what's happening in Dhaka right now. The most protected establishment, the most protected building in Dhaka, the Prime Minister's residence, which is protected like any Prime Minister of any country. This is what's taking place there.